So friends and family, or friends, family, and fools, these folks, I guess you know them. They're your friends, they're your family. Why would they back you? Probably because they love you and they want to see you succeed. And so these people tend to be maybe the most generous. Everybody loves, their son or daughter or niece or nephew, and they want to see them succeed. So if it looks like it might be feasible, why not give it a go? Now, some people obviously come from different circumstances where maybe they don't have access through that crowd to the kind of capital they need, but others, maybe do. And you might be surprised actually at how you can pull together resources within that circle. So that's the friends, family, and fools. They tend not to negotiate very hard. It's possible maybe it won't even be equity. It could be like a loan. So it's kind of all over the board. I think that anecdotally, most entrepreneurs actually start off relying on their own personal savings. And then when they think about trying to expand, typically they would go to somebody that they know and trust. And so there's lots of examples where people go to, say, their dad or their grandfather, their uncle, or maybe a friend of the family, and negotiates a deal. So all I can say is it's probably the most frequent source of capital. And like I said, typically they aren't, negotiating for a lot of control or economics. They really are investing in you as a person. Now, what do you got to do to go to them? I would say out of respect, you should treat them professionally. You should say, I've done my homework, and the same toolkit that you might use to approach any other investor, I think it would be appropriate for you to do that out of respect, even when you're approaching your friends and your family. In fact, all the more so. So people are going to want to know that, you've done your homework, this is a fair bet, you got a reasonable shot. And in terms of the form of the security, it's been my experience, they tend to be not very sophisticated. So you're talking probably common stock. You might propose something like a convertible debt if you want to be generous to them in that regard, but you probably don't need to do that. And they're probably not that sophisticated, and they probably won't hire a lawyer to negotiate this. So at this point, it's pretty friendly. On the flip side, I have seen situations where, frankly, sometimes friends and family negotiate a worse deal than market. Not sure why. It may reflect something about the family, but there are circumstances where you might end up giving a lot more to somebody in the family. And of course, you do need to think about the politics of this, because if it's a meaningful investment from their perspective and you fail, you might have to hear about it for a while, like the rest of your life. So, it's a source of capital that you could go to if you really feel like you need to. And it is, like I said, the most frequent source of capital for early stage companies. So I've been asked the question, what is it that I need to do to create a compelling offer to my friends or family? And the answer is you need to create a fair offer, and you need to treat them with respect. And so, again, my advice is that, you're properly organized, you got your house in order, and you come up with a fair deal. Now, in this case, a fair deal might be common stock. You could find yourself in the risk, and I've seen this happen, where you overvalue the company. You could also find yourself in a position where you dramatically undervalue it. Depends on, I guess, the family dynamics. You could just offer them convertible debt if, in fact, you anticipate that you'll be seeking capital from third parties at a later date. But at a minimum, you need to treat them with respect. So you need to go to them with real legal documents that give them the right to participate either as an equity holder or as a convertible debt holder. Another question that I've been asked from time to time is, what is typical with friends, family, and fools? And I would say it's anywhere from 20,000 to maybe 300,000. US dollars. That's what I've seen. Once you get beyond that range, unless you come from a really wealthy family, that's usually the range where you can get access to this capital. Another thing I've seen is guarantees. So instead of providing capital, there's some kind of a guarantee, which is like capital. Honestly, if the business fails, the guarantee becomes like cash. So I'll be careful with guarantees, but I've seen that done as well. Another question that I've been asked is, what is a typical valuation for an early stage company? I do not hold myself out as an expert on valuation. There's lots of different methodologies, but in a nutshell, if you employ one or more of the many methodologies for valuing early stage companies, you would typically find, at least within a tech startup in the United States at least, pre-money value of somewhere around 1.5 million to say 3 or 4 million if it's a hot deal in the Silicon Valley. In Europe, I would say the pre-money values can be quite a bit less depending on which market you're in. Just to do the math on that, if the pre-money value is, let's just say 1.5 million and somebody gives you, say, 150,000, that would mean that they get approximately 9 or 10% of your company. So I've been asked the question, what percentage of the company do you need to give your friends and family if they invest in your company? And I guess it's all over the board, to be honest. I mean, if you were to try and do it based on a fair market value with a willing buyer, willing investor, willing seller sort of thing, you might get one set of terms. With friends and family, it's been my experience that a lot of times actually the entrepreneur undervalues the company and they get the friends and family discount, as it were. Maybe it's out of guilt to a certain extent. So be careful for that. I mean, I guess the question is, are you offering your friends and family the same deal that you would offer anyone else? Or are you giving them a better deal? Or are you giving them a worse deal? And I think, honestly, I've seen all of the above, and it probably reflects different cultural values within the family itself. That's been my experience.